The scene opens on our completely unremarkable protagonist. Based on his complaints, he hails from a totally average household and had a life as exciting as watching paint dry. But then, bam, everything changes when he stumbles upon the game, Hero's Destiny. Suddenly, he's not just some background character. No, in this game, he's the hero himself, the one who gets to forge his own story and, you guessed it, become the ruler of the world. Cue the confetti, right? Well, maybe. Our boy is thrilled. After all, it's a single-player game. That's his jam. He's a fan of single-player because, let's be real, it's the only game where you can save, reload, and hit the reset button on your disastrous decisions. Plus, cheating is like an all-you-can-eat buffet of shortcuts. What's not to love? It turns out our boy isn't just any gamer. He's a streamer. He's got an audience, though they don't exactly seem like the supportive, champ type. More like the let's roast this guy into oblivion kind. All he hears is insults flying at him like it's a stand-up comedy roast. But, oh, what's this? One kind soul tosses him $10. Hey, it's something. But then, wham, a $1,000 donation. Looks like someone's feeling generous. Our boy is shook, and they didn't even ask him to do anything. Can we get an applause for that mysterious benefactor? And then, out of nowhere, he gets a message from someone named D. This is where things get interesting. DEA claims to be an indie game developer and asks if our boy can play the game and offer some feedback. Apparently, no one could beat it during the beta test. Well, looks like D's got faith in him. Our boy wonders, does this mysterious figure see something special in him? Or is DEA just desperate? He installs the game from DEA, and finally, he starts Hero's Destiny. In this game world, our boy is dropped into the year 294 of the imperial calendar. Rogue Kingdom is on fire, literally, thanks to an invasion by the Japal United Kingdom. What could have possibly gone down between these two kingdoms that sparked such a spectacular disaster? A border dispute over who has the better flag design? Maybe it's a classic good old-fashioned war. Now, our boy is reborn as a totally unremarkable character, just like he was in real life. Wave goodbye to immersion and that all-powerful fantasy of becoming some demigod. You were never going to be the chosen one. The game tells him he's got one mission. Become the hero, defeat the resurrected evil god, and climb the ladder to the god's throne. Simple, right? Just a little bit of world saving. After all, who wouldn't want their wish granted after a little bit of world domination? Naturally, our boy isn't entirely sold on the game. He starts commenting on it. The graphics are bad, but hey, it's an indie project. Good graphics don't make a game, right? Sure, buddy, sure. Then, the game asks him to choose a name for his character. He gleefully types in the most cringe name imaginable, Game Master. Oh yes, the titular Game Master. Can we get a round of applause for originality? At first, the game feels pretty generic, but don't worry, it's just the beginning. The early game is always a snooze fest, until the magic happens. Enter the old man. He's the village chief, probably here to deliver some side quest or philosophical wisdom. He asks our boy what business he has with the village. Our boy, a genius in his own right, is confused. There's no dialogue option, so he types in, "Hand over your gold, or I'll slaughter all the villagers." Real subtle, dude. Real subtle. Naturally, the old man is not having it, and with one hit, our boy is dead. The game does not mess around. I guess there's no defense stat to pump up yet. He tries again, this time with an innocent approach, following the old man into the village. The old man offers him a drink. Unfortunately, acting like an innocent angel means getting poisoned over time. Yikes. A fate worse than death. In his next attempt, our boy gets creative. He unplugs his internet cable, thinking, aha, the NPCs can't control me now. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work. The game still functions just fine. And as a cherry on top, he dies again. This time, it's because his tongue gets ripped out. Ouch. The game is still functioning, even offline. Who knew? He remembers D. Or is it D? Is that the developer's name? The team? Who even knows at this point? The mystery deepens. Our boy, exhausted from his thrilling adventure, decides to call it a night. But as he drifts off to sleep, he can't shake the feeling that this game world feels way too real. The NPCs react like actual humans. No wonder no one made it to the end during the beta. This is next-level immersion. Fast forward 10 years. Our boy is now a regular office worker. His life? Boring. His job? Boring. "Oh, Shiro-san," someone yells. Oh great, his colleague wants something. He's about to go home when, hold up, what's this? Is his pretty colleague making a move on him? In typical MC fashion, he declines. Yep, the dense protagonist strikes again. Poor girl was probably waiting for a sign for years. Home. He logs back into Hero's Destiny. Apparently, in 10 years, he's still a hardcore gamer. The game congratulates him, and our boy is overjoyed. 10 years, and he feels more alive in the game than he ever did in reality. But now that it's over, he's back to being just, well, him. You can practically hear the emptiness in his voice. He reflects on the characters from the game. The Black Prince, Gale Krakow, Cardinal Cesare Libero, and Celestina Urian, the mysterious witch behind the scenes. They weren't just NPCs. They had personalities, charm, the kind of spark that made them feel real. Even if they were just pixels, it was hard to tell. If I met people like that, I'd be pretty bummed saying goodbye too. And just when he thinks it's all over, boom, he gets a pop-up. Want a new adventure? Could this be an ice guy? Fingers crossed, folks. He clicks yes. Suddenly, a beam of light shoots out of his PC, announcing that he's entered the world of Ellen. Oh, and by the way, he's still Game Master. Because why not? He feels a sharp burn in his chest and struggles to breathe. A voice whispers, "I'm so glad you woke up." Oh no, this is giving off some serious Skyrim intro vibes. He opens his eyes to see an old man and is told he shouldn't have survived this long. But here's the real kicker. He's now in the body of a gorgeous, blonde boy named Calyx. Welcome to the world of Ellen, Calyx. You might want to work on your name a little though. Game Master was better. Upon waking up, our hero asks the old man who he is. He might be an attendant of some sort of RMC, and he looks confused as this kind of question can only be caused by amnesia, but in this case, he's been transported to another world. The old man is confused again as since what he used did not say that there was a risk of amnesia when he applied it. Our hero, Calyx, questions everything around himself again. He wonders who he is and where he is exactly. The old man eventually tells him that his name is Russell and he looks like to be of service to RMC. Calyx concludes that clearly this is not Japan and language is not Japanese either, although he could understand it. Despite saying this, he still is confused in all of this. While resting, RMC still feels the burning pain in his chest he experienced earlier. Perhaps this is a side effect of being transported into this world? I don't know. Russell apologizes to our boy, even though he just keeps helping him. He assures Calyx that this pain is just a side effect of the potion he used to revive him and will eventually disappear after a time, and he leaves Calyx to rest. Clearly, we can see that Russell is a man of loyalty and is sincere. Calyx, now partially recovered, looks in the mirror and sees himself as Twinkie, beautiful blonde boy, but is still asking himself, who am I, even though Russell already called him Calyx and a lord. RMC is truly an airhead. Even though he is still in this body, he clearly remembers all those years when he was in his pathetic life. He can't even remember his name in his previous life. Not that it's important. RMC suddenly opens up in status screen, which you can usually see in 90% of manhwas. His name is Calyx Shakin, a 15-year-old noble from the Shakin heirloom. Based on the status, he is still recovering and really has low level. He says, Hero's Destiny? This means that this status screen is something he remembers when he was in his previous life, playing the same game. What phenomenon could have transported him into this world? I think I have an idea now why nobody wanted to finish this game or why no one has finished it. He remembers on the screen, moving to the continent of Ellen, actually meant being ice-skate to its world, and now he's shocked and confused but eventually calms down. His chest pain is still hurting him and he wonders why it hurts so badly. He thinks that because of this sensation that there is no way this can be a dream. For now, he will try to blend in and use the name Calyx Shakin as edgy as that name sounds. It's best to blend in with the NPCs. Who knows what they will do to him if feel he's acting weird? Calyx, just lying his face on the bed, suddenly makes the screen pop up. It looks like thinking about it makes it appear. Talk about convenience. Our boy then decides to gather some information about this new and interesting world so he can use it in order to survive. Since he's a noble, it is best to be cautious as assassins can be everywhere. The status screen shows him that he is of the territory of the Shakin earldom, which means he is part of the Earl's directly family. Most likely, he will be treated with the highest respect and treated more than equally by other people. Jackpot. He has a life wherein he does not have to struggle for money. A knock on the door. Our boy Calyx is suddenly panicking as this will just be his second encounter with an NPC from a foreign land. He practices himself in the short span of time that he should tell himself that he is Calyx Shakin, or else he's dead to the people. It looks like a maid is behind our boy's door, holding something. It's medicine for our MC because of this chest pain he is still having, or is it? The maid looks innocent while presenting the medicine to Calyx and urges him to take while it is still warm. Calyx wonders if he should ask the maid her name, but that will only give more suspicion. However, our boy is smart enough to check on the status of the maid despite her innocent looks. Her name is Lyla. Status is a commoner. Her affiliation is Viscount Hashiran's territory. Combat power class 3LV33. It is weird because she has to be in the same kingdom as our MC, and why does she have such a high combat power? Something is fishy with this maid. Our MC is smart enough to be skeptical of this maid. He tells himself that he should not drink this, and that's for the best. Lyla, looking surprised, wonders why Calyx is hesitating. Something isn't going according to her plan if there is one. Calyx tells her to just leave it, but she clearly wants our boy to drink it on the spot. Perhaps she's waiting for the effect of the medicine that she bought. Our boy gets pissed off at her persistence and knocks off the glass out of her hand. Lyla is now shocked why Calyx swatted it. He might be onto her. Perhaps she is more than just a maid? She watches the glass fall and still manages to catch it. This is no ordinary maid, or is she one in the first place? Lyla now gazes at our MC as if she's about to kill him. Lyla catches the cup with the liquid still inside it, and Calyx remarks that her reflexes are not that of an ordinary maid. If he makes eye contact with Lyla, she'll absolutely know that he spilled it on purpose. Lyla presents the medicine again to Calyx, although the prince is still suspicious. The worst-case scenario which could happen between him and an assassin came true. Calyx is 100% sure that it's definitely poison and not ordinary medicine, and there is no way he will be drinking it. He thinks fast, but Lyla checks on him also. He checks out Lyla's status again to gather more information. What kind of place is the Koshelin household that Lyla belongs to, and why do they want him dead? Okay, here's what our boy knows so far. He is the son of the Count's first, now deceased wife, and he wonders if he has any half-siblings. Most likely he'll be contested in the ascension of the throne with them. Look, there is one half-sibling who is older than Calyx. A 16-year-old, but what's this? The second wife's maiden name is Koshelin, the territory name which Lyla belongs to. Perhaps they're in charge of the assassination? Calyx deduces that Lyla was sent by the stepmother. If he dies, her son becomes the next count in typical medieval fashion. Instead of being afraid, Calyx looks as if he is interested in the events to come even though it is life-threatening. As expected of hero's destiny, it is challenging by nature. Calyx tells Lyla that he's fine and asks how his stepmother is doing. Lyla is shocked since he bought that out of nowhere. Lyla tells that the stepmother was deeply saddened when she heard that Calyx attempted suicide. The stepmom told Lyla to make sure that our hero never attempts it again. Calyx realizes that this body he has had suicidal tendencies, and that may explain the pain in his chest and the wounded status on the status screen. Calyx assures her that he won't try to commit suicide anymore and dismisses Lyla. However, Lyla now has a scary gaze on our boy and apologizes that she can't leave without seeing him drink the medicine. Calyx can't just refuse since she may kill him on the spot, and there is no way she will be able to beat a trained assassin. He thinks fast, but there does not seem to be any option out of this. He questions why poison specifically when stabbing and escaping would be easier. He suspects that this may be to avoid drawing attention. The stepmother is making it look like as if our MC drank poison to do suicide. However, since our MC is familiar with the game, he knows the poison, the slow creeping death. Lyla asks that she can assist if it's too difficult for our MC. She can assist. With our hero's knowledge in playing the game, he always know to expect the worst since it will soon come to reality. If you want to survive, doubt everything and be prepared. If you ask me, that's a good idea to live by. If our MC refuses, she'll definitely force it down his throat. Our MC is thrilled instead of feeling terrified. Eventually, our boy drinks the medicine knowing that it's still poison, and it looks like Lyla's can now be at ease. How should Calix get out of the situation since he already drank the poison? He remembers that Russell used a top-tier potion that he used to revive him and also remembered Russell, so he tells Lyla to go fetch him and don't question his authority. Lyla apologizes and then is dismissed by Calix to get Russell. Calix thinks about the potion again. Calix is certain that Russell is loyal to him, since he didn't hesitate to use the expensive potion on him. Calix, still poisoned, tries to vomit out the poison by putting his fingers in his mouth, but is unsuccessful. Hero's Destiny may be a tough game, but there's always an answer. Calix looks for the potion, but as he's looking, his vision blurs and the poison is starting to eat him. Where is the potion? Calix asks if it's really this easy to die, and why does he has to die in the beginning, or does he actually die for real? While on the brink of death, Calix spots something. What's that? A potion hidden between the drawers. Could this be the one Russell had? Calix's body is laid on the ground, and it looks like he is about to die. You can see the despair in his face. The jar is just right across him between the drawers and only a few steps away. Calix tries to crawl toward the potion, but he looks extremely weak. What is this? Calix says. He is still unsure of what is inside the potion. Calix opens the mysterious bottle, hoping for something useful to pop out. He smells the contents of the jar and is about to make a deduction of what is inside. Calix unenthusiastically says, "What is this? It's like spoiled milk? I guess that it really was not useful after all." The status screen shows on the upper right, "Spoiled goat milk." Calix then panics, then also says, "Goat milk?" Calix says, "I knew from playing the game that yogurt was the antidote to slow creeping death, but he is about to follow up something to say," he says now. "Can this spoiled goat milk even be called yogurt?" The status screen above our main character says, "Your eyelids are getting heavy." Calix says, "This is bad." The warning message has already popped up 3 times. "Ugh," Calix says. Calix says he won't last another minute. "Damn it." "Watch, Lyla," he says. Calix drinks the spoiled goat milk and says, "I'll definitely get my revenge," and it looks like he does not like what he is doing. He looks at his room, however his eyes are getting heavier. His vision blurs, then may eventually close. The scene next is someone saying, "Have you woken up?" It looks like the person is Russell from earlier. Calix wakes up. What is this? He looks confused. Deja vu? Was I reset? He hypothesizes. Russell, standing just beside him, tall, firm, and in his usual attire, says, "What are you talking about?" He sounds curious as to why Calix may have suddenly asked this suspicious question. More importantly, he is about to follow up something. He points to the messed up chair near the fireplace. What is going on with this messy room? He angrily says, "Please, have some decency, young master." He scolds him again and says, "And why were you lying on the floor?" "I'm saved," Calix thinks to himself. "You wouldn't wake up no matter how much I tried, so I almost called for a healer," Russell angrily shouts. Calix thinks to himself, "I never want to experience that terrifying feeling of dying again." He looks extremely worried. He thinks again, "No matter what happens, I will survive," he says with a determined look. Now that Calix had that mindset, he told himself, "Now, I need to check this guy's status," referring to Russell as the guy. Calix directly looks at the angry Russell and is about to scan him. Russell scolds him again. "My lord, are you listening to me?" Calix checks Russell's status screen. The count died without choosing an heir, so he's a temporary stand-in. This means that Russell is the acting count for now. Russell seems like a strict military man, so maybe Calix can trust him for now. After all, he's the one who saved our boy's life with a top-grade potion. Calix then calls Russell, acting count. Russell loyally responds with, "Yes, my lord." Calix then gives a command, but is not said until later. Russell looks at Calix with a serious face as if something intense is about to happen. Outside the window, we can see that the two are discussing something or perhaps plotting something due to Calix's situation. The scene then shifts to the two of them still exchanging words in a serious manner. I am terribly sorry, but there's no evidence. He regrettably says as if something tragic had happened. Calix looks worried since he may think that Russell did not believe him. He did use a top-grade potion to save me, but he didn't treat me specially. He just followed the rules and saved me, Calix thinks to himself in a serious tone. To me, you, my lord, and the other heir, Lord Grunbein, are equals. I am obliged to serve both you fairly, Russell says with a loyal and fierce face. Without witnesses or proof, Calix says to Russell, and he's holding his bedsheet really strongly. So, are you telling me I should continue taking the medicine? Sent by my rival for the Count's inheritance, Calix remarks to Russell angrily. Confused, Russell asks Calix if he has truly lost part of his memory. It looks like the Shakin family is in serious financial trouble and our budget is very tight, Russell says. Russell says that it is actually a blessing that Lyla is actually helping with the family business. Don't you remember? Or are you pretending not to remember, Russell says. Calix says that he has no choice but to show the proof he has. Calix says that Lyla must currently think that he is dead since she saw him drink it straight up. Calix says to Russell, fine, let us leave it at that. However, Russell still seems confused with what he just said and is suspicious. Calix, now with a smile on his face as if he is about to plot something, says, but I do have one request. It's nothing too difficult. He is plotting something and he is saying this to Russell. Suspicious, Russell thins, as I thought. He's acting differently than usual. 4 hours later, at the Shakin Castle, in the night, there is a bird's eye view of the castle tower, and it looks like a figure is jumping with agility across all over the top of the castle. We can see this figure now in heels moving quickly as if they're rushing. Phew, this mysterious hooded figure says. Perhaps they are catching their breath after the parkour. They spot two guards who are right on duty. Perhaps this figure is trying to avoid them. As expected, the security has been tightened, the mysterious figure says. Perhaps this is because Calix alerted the whole castle. The mysterious figure spots something like a hole which may be leading toward the castle. Perhaps they are planning to use it to enter. The mysterious figure effortlessly lands inside the castle with agility and did not break a sweat. There are no guards in the room, they say. It looks like our mysterious figure knows where they are going. They silently open and have a peek at the door as if they are cautious of something. The bed is just right over across the room with a hump underneath the blanket. Perhaps it is our MC who is just sleeping. They inspect the hump on underneath the blanket for inspection. It looks like the mysterious figure was Lyla from earlier. Since it was a special poison, they must have died without suffering, she says. She most likely is pertaining to what she gave to Calix earlier. She takes a note out of her cloak and it appears to be of importance. It looks like this note is a letter set up to be written by the prince. To prove its authenticity, Lyla also stamps on what appears to be the prince's royal seal. She holds on to the piece of paper and makes sure that the seal is properly and visibly stamped. All right, now I just need to make it back safely, she says after doing the paper and seal. Suddenly, someone with a knife appears at her back and they quickly strike her. Don't move, the person with the knife menacingly says. The knife is just right near her throat, ready to slice. Lyla is shocked as she did not expect this kind of surprise. This voice. It looks like Lyla is familiar with this mysterious figure's voice. Lyla is sweating intensely as the blade is just right beneath her chin and directly in front of her throat, ready to slice it open. No, she says to the mysterious figure who is holding the knife, it is already too late. She may be pertaining to what Calix drank earlier, and she is assuming he has already died from it. She confirms it by saying Lord Calix is already dead. We can see that in the hump beneath the bedsheet. She says that now that Calix is now dead, that the Shakin family is now left with only the Grunbein. Perhaps this is the remaining family members Calix had. Lord Russell, she says. It appears that she has something to say before Lord Russell continues to slice her throat and kill her. She thinks and sweats. Perhaps she is thinking that this is an inescapable situation. She says that should not he be, as a mere noble, be serving the Shakin family since it is the only remaining family in the castle. However, Lord Russell is silent and stays his blade. As expected. It's just as I predicted. It looks like there is another person with them in the room. A mysterious figure stands out of the shadows menacingly and confronts both of them. What Lyla says shockingly as if she saw a ghost. In typical noble family feuds, poisonings are not usual. Our boy, since he played this game and practically knows everything and has 30 years of life experience, knows that much. But he follows up and has something to say while holding the piece of paper which appear to be the suicide note from earlier. If it gets discovered, it would be quite troublesome, says our MC. Lyla under her cloak has a knife, and she quickly unsheathes her knife. She looks up as if she is doing some quick maneuvering with her body. She skillfully draws out both of her daggers and strikes Lord Russell's dagger going downward to break free from the knife holding on her throat. However, Lord Russell just stands there as if nothing has happened. Lyla fully turns around and is most likely going to attack Lord Russell with a backwards knife attack. However, he easily grabs her wrist with no effort at all. She screams in pain as Lord Russell crushes her wrist. It looks like as if he really wants Lyla to feel the pain after what she did to Calyx. He then unleashes his mighty fist toward a direction, and this looks like it could deal some serious damage. He strikes her with a fierce and unwavering look in the gut, and she screams in pain. Calyx curiously says, "I thought I knew. But is this the difference of 3 class stages? It looks like there is an extremely big power gap between the likes of Lord Russell and a mere assassin like Lyla." Calyx observes Lord Russell and says, "Overwhelming. Lord Russell's aura is so strong that he not only is able to feel it, but he is also able to see some dark purple flames which represent his tremendous power. Anyway, even if poisonings are common, no one leaves physical evidence or witnesses." Calyx says this even as a young boy displaying superior intelligence. Anyone who attempts assassination against a noble will be executed, even if it is a noble. The same rule applies. That is the rule which they have in these lands. Calyx moves across the room and looks for the piece of paper Lyla left earlier. "The evidence is here," he points. "As for witnesses," he says as he steps on Lyla's cloak. He looks like as if he is about to do something terrible to Lyla. "They are here, right?" Calyx says smilingly. Lyla is just there looking at him angrily as if she wants to kill him while she is restrained. Her eyes now face upwards as if something may be happening to her in a few seconds. "Huh?" Calyx says questioningly. Lyla appears to face downwards and appears to be falling a few seconds later. She suddenly falls to the floor unconscious. "What is with this sudden change?" Calyx says, and Lord Russell is just there wondering the same thing. Lyla, now motionless, looks like she was dead. "They fainted," Calyx says. Calyx touches Lyla. It looks like he is about to perform some mumbo-jumbo on her. Suddenly, a blue orb pops up out of nowhere from Lyla while Calyx places his hand on her. This blue orb appears to be something called the mana hole. Now, our boy is able to understand Russell's and Layla's classes. "It seems they cannot use mana breathing techniques," Russell says. "Whatever that is, they are probably at the level of elite soldiers with good training. There may be no need for high-speed mana restraints." He wisely says this to our boy Calyx. Lord Russell is shocked as if he's something crazier than usual again. He thinks to himself while looking at our boy, that expression. Could it be that the young master already knew? He is becoming more and more suspicious now that our boy suddenly went from being suicidal then to a super genius in just a night. Again he says to himself, "There was something off when I asked to lay low," but then he remembers earlier when Calyx told him, "However, I have a request." It's not a big deal. That he already thought to himself earlier that before this event that our boy was already having a different behavior from usual. How much do they really know? Lord Russell seems to be really skeptical on what our boy currently knows. Now that Lyla has fainted, Calyx orders Lord Russell to bind her for now, since there are plenty of things that he wants to ask her. Most likely this is the details of the assassination. Lyla, still unconscious, is now bound to a chair just right in front of the fireplace, and it looks like her arm is extremely damaged due to Lord Russell restraining her earlier. Calyx now pours a red liquid on Lyla's wound, which is currently bleeding from that strong grip earlier. Perhaps this is a potion. He places a cloth on Lyla, perhaps to reduce her sweating. It appears that Lyla is waking up as her vision is being restored and he sees Calyx in front of her. The cloth is still on her face, but she is still sweating. Lyla is now awake and appears to be shocked due to the incident which just happened earlier. Drinking slowly creeping death, some says. That is the poison earlier. Lyla is still in shock and someone says, causes a slow death in 3 to 6 hours. Most likely this is Calyx. It is a poison ideal for suicide as you die without feeling pain. Calyx says the description of the poison Lyla just gave earlier. He says, since I had once attempted suicide before, if I died from this poison, everyone would think I committed suicide, he says with a smug, smiling expression. Layla, if you had used a fast-acting poison and had the resolve to die with me, you would not have failed, he confidently says to Lyla. Calyx grips her face and asks why she did this and strikes a scary gaze on Lyla, who looks scared as hell as if she's about to face death. What? What are you talking about? Lyla says, acting like an idiot, thinking that Calyx does not know anything. Lord Russell stands there at the ready, appearing ready to strike at any time. You didn't want to die, did you? Calyx says, in other words, you did not have the loyalty to dedicate your life to Countess Stella, did you? Lyla looks like she is unable to say anything or appears to be afraid to say anything. Our boy commands Lord Russell to make the assassin talk. What is this nonsense? Lyla stupidly says. Lord Russell obeys our boy with no hesitation. He opens her mouth forcibly and violently as if there is something they want to put inside it. Lyla looks at our boy and it appears he is holding something. What is this? It looks like there is something like pebble RMC has, and it has a dark and mysterious aura around it. Perhaps there is a strong power with this object. He throws this at the assassin's mouth, and it looks like she really hates it. The smell, she says. Calyx pours some nasty-looking black liquid into Lyla's throat, and it also has a dark aura around it. Perhaps this is a disgusting liquid designed to make her suffer more. Lyla screams in pain. It looks like someone or something is inflicting pain on our girl. What on earth did you make me drink? She questions our boy. It looks like she was talking about the terrible black powerful liquid our boy gave her earlier. Calyx, sealing the jar with his hand, tells her that he made her drink some deadly poison. Calyx looks calm and he says this extremely provocative statement. Poison? She questions RMC with a fierce look. You know about the poison, Seedy's puppet, right? It looks like this mysterious poison is so strong and deadly that it projects a scary manifestation of death with strings attached to its arms. Most likely this is where it gets its name. Impossible. That is a lie. Lyla screams in desperation. How could a young lord from a count's family like you get your hands on such a thing? It looks like Lyla, who was just owned by Calyx, is underestimating our boy and is not believing him. She doesn't know that it's really a 30-year-old man in a 15-year-old body. As long as you have gold coins, you can get as much as you want. Calyx says menacingly. This much is true in the real world because can get you anything. If I were to mention a key ingredient, there's also something called white radish. Lyla looks in terror as if the white radish is something you have to beg for your life not to get. Lord Russell stands there shocked as if Calyx said something which can blow everyone's mind in the room. Calyx, with a seemingly bored face, looks. Lyla, while she says, I can't believe it, she said angrily. She may be pertaining to what our boy forced her to drink. Our boy thinks to himself, in this world, as long as you know the professional jargon, no one will suspect that you're from another world. I literally have no idea what that means right now. RMC says that he will release Lyla today, and he wants her to report what just happened in this room. He wants her specifically to report that the assassination of Calyx-sama was successful. You really think I will follow your orders? Lyla says stubbornly as RMC bends his head. You don't want to die, do you? He threatens Lyla along with a menacing gaze. Calyx surely means business when he delivered this threat. That, Lyla says. And we got information that The poison seedy's puppet has over 3,000 antidotes depending on how it is formulated. Calyx points at his with a smug face and says, right here? Perhaps he is referring to how he formulated the poison. Lyla struggles onto the chair, but it is completely useless. Calyx says, if you do not want to die pointlessly, stop being stubborn and listen to what I say. Our boy looks like he is going to blackmail Lyla and make a difficult request. What's your answer? Calyx says. Lyla is just there with a blank expression. Then suddenly her eyes open. Things are about to get intense since she is so pressured on what he will tell our boy. Lord Russell looks at the two talking strictly. It appears that he is guarding Lyla in case she tries to do anything funny to our boy. All right, fine. Just untie me, Lyla says. It looks like she gave in to Calyx-sama's threat. She says this with a loud tone and menacing gaze towards Calyx. If you ask me, she's in no position to get pissed all of a sudden since Calyx can do anything to her at the moment. Huh? What kind of tone is that? I'm about to save your life, Calyx says with a smug face. It looks like he really wants to spare our girl here, however there most likely is a condition he's going to follow up. Please untie me quickly, I'm begging you, Lyla says. This is more like it. This is the tone someone should have when they're about to lose their life and will be about to be tortured. Lord Russell thinks, what's this? You're unusually compliant. Are you up to something? He is skeptical towards this decision of Lyla to submit to Calyx's demand. Please show me mercy. It looks like our girl has enough, and she looks so miserable at the moment that her face is turning red. The rotten goat's milk is working, Calyx thinks, and he remembers it. His face turns red, and it looks like he is about to vomit just by thinking about it. It looks like the black, powerful liquid earlier was only rotten goat's milk, and not some life-threatening poison, though it may be as powerful as it. Our boy now orders Russell to untie Lyla ropes. However, Russell is still shocked. Are you sure? She was trying to kill you, he says in a panicking look. Even if I had something like that happen to me, I would lock up the assassin in the basement or something. Calyx says that Lyla is still an important witness, so let us at least treat her with basic human dignity. Calyx, despite being attacked by Lyla, still shows some mercy and human decency. Dignity? Russell says. Calyx already made her drink rotten goat's milk. There is no more dignity for Lyla. Lyla yells to Russell, you bastard! Hurry up and untie me. Huh? Ah yes. Russell responds, then tries to untie. Lyla looks like she is in total pain and is crying a lot. Her face turns red. Please? She should have said this earlier, as any captive should. The scene shifts to the castle. It most likely implies that her scream is so loud that it was heard throughout the castle. Lyla, while kneeling in her cloak and hood readied, repeats Calyx's orders. Then, go report that the assassination was successful. Got it? She leaves swiftly, leaving the door open, and our boy and Russell stand there as if nothing happened. Tio perfectly deceived the person behind Lyla. We will need someone who can manipulate the knight's order. Calyx thinks. That person is, he thinks. My lord, Russell replies. Calyx thinks to himself that Russell must have a mountain of things he wants to ask or know, right? Where did you acquire all that knowledge? Russell says curiously. Our boy looks nervous and says, even if I say I read it in books, you won't believe me, will you? It looks like no lie will work here. Publishing such a book would be a death sentence. And it's even less likely that a banned book like that would just be lying around the castle, he says. Clearly, he thinks that there may be something fishy with Calyx. Speaking of, Calyx looks panicked at the moment since Russell is so smart. Our boy thinks, they wouldn't believe me if I said I'm someone from a different world. In that case, he says to himself while coated in IC. You remember the dagger I stabbed onto my own chest? He explains to Russell. Yes, but why are you bringing that up now? Russell may be in for a big surprise as Calyx walks away. He says that the dagger is a family heirloom passed down from my mother. It's said to have a mysterious power, and this time, I've obtained that power. This may sound unbelievable to anyone. Is that so? Russell says with skepticism. Calyx thinks that Russell believes me. Russell, despite looking only like a meathead, still knows how to think further and may be smarter than the average person. Our boy says, who would have known that the way to unlock the dagger's secret was to stab your own heart? It looks like he is attempting to trick Russell into believing his words. That it's strange. But if it's such a rare item, You'd think it would be known worldwide. Russell says, could it be? Calix says, are you familiar with Claire's dagger? It appears that the mysterious dagger he is talking about is so powerful that it needs its own story. Russell is in shock and says, the old dagger given to me by the great lady, is that Claire's dagger? Russell seems to be believing our MC's words. Got it? Our boy thinks. He's thinking most likely now that he successfully made him believe our boy. Russell buys into his lie and says now that since it was a famous dagger, Calix made sure to study it. Although clearly Calix really has not seen it. But Russell says and our boy is suddenly ready again for something. Russell, with a purple aura and menacing look on his face, teleports near our MC's face and asks, does anyone else know about this? Calix replies that the first one to know is Russell. Then Russell says, by the way, Calix says and he's about to follow up something. He asks Russell what he thought about Lyla's story. What do you mean? Russell asks. Calix repeats, the fact that all of my father, Count Corin's, movements were leaked. That's, says Russell. It looks like he is at a loss for words. A knight on the verge of class advancement, dying from a mere monster attack? And all the knight guarding him died together too? Says our MC. Do you really believe such a ridiculous story? Calix says. The Lord probably wants my power, Russell thinks to himself. He looks at our MC and says, in a struggle for a title, I can't simply take one side. But when it comes to Count Corin's death, there's a rational suspicion. There's no hard evidence, only circumstantial, he says, but he is still following up something to say. No, he says. As a soldier, I refuse to involve myself in politics. That's my principle. My lord, Russell says. Calix says angrily and looking like he is having a tantrum. Why did my father have to die? If it was an assassination, who was behind it? Once I find out who's behind it, Calix looks like he will punish the one who sent Lyla majorly. How shall we exact revenge? Calix says as he begins his next move.
This recap begins first near the end of the previous chapter. Prince, says Lord Russell. Why did my father have to die? If it was an assassination, who is behind it? Once we find out who is responsible, he says angrily without taking a breath. Shall we seek revenge? Calix says. Looks like something chaotic will be happening around the castle halls. My father, your lord, was murdered, he says in a sorrowful tone. He deduces that the mastermind behind the assassination was the Koshrin's family. And from that family, Grunbein. It looks like our boy has a score to settle with whoever this Grunbein character is. He says that if Grunbein becomes a count, all hopes of revenge will vanish. Calix does not appear to just give up his ascension to the throne so easily. Calix stares into nothingness with a dark aura. You can see the hatred in his eyes that he is about to plot something which nobody will like. Is it true chivalry to follow the lead of a family that plotted an assassination? It appears that he is trying to provoke Lord Russell by guilt-tripping him. Russell just stands there without saying a word. Perhaps Calix's suspicion was correct. However, Russell goes down in front of him and swears that his loyalty to our MC. With his determined words and unselfish actions, I can say that Russell is without a doubt an ally to our boy. Commander Russell, says Calix. He seems touched by the acting count's devotion and resolve to be loyal. However, Russell adds, please do not forget that I just abandoned the beliefs I've held for over 50 years, with a powerful dark purple aura. You can sense the power and sincerity behind his words. Talk about having a loyal servant. He just abandoned everything he believed in for our MC. Calix looks reassured, smiling, and thinks that he has secured a powerful ally. Russell, a rank 6 warrior and the most powerful figure in the Count's territory, has become our ally. For a tiger that has silently walked its own path until now, being bound by the reins of revenge is a significant shift. An image of a large and creeping tiger is imagined behind Russell. I think our MC compares him to that of a tiger. I hope that our MC does not do anything stupid that will make Russell regret his decision because so far he is my favorite character. He assures Calix that he will make him strong with a fiery aura. His determination is displayed with a fiery, exaggerated aura around him and a fiendish purple eye locked onto our MC, and he sweats since he is also terrified of Russell. Before we go on, let's quickly change the subject or special training will begin at any moment, Calyx says. The Countess resorted to a despicable method of poisoning, leaving behind both and evidence and witnesses. This is enough to destroy the faction the Countess belongs to, our boy confidently says. There is no doubt that he will dominate whatever is to come. This is the prologue to revenge, he says with an evil smile. Well then, what should this old man do? Says Russell like a loyal dog. For now. Then it zooms out. Looks like the two are plotting some so evil it should not be heard. The scene starts in a bright hall with people who appear to be of importance or royalty. It looks as if these are the nobles of the castle. A blonde, gorgeous, evil-looking woman with a fan says, "It seems everyone is gathered here. I think this may be the evil stepmother our MC has." The woman appears to be the Countess, the stepmother of our boy. The other nobles whisper why she is sitting on the throne, and for some reason, the entire Knight's Order was on high alert all night. These two things may be connected. Someone nearby says, "Some of you may already be aware." The Countess announces that yesterday Calyx did something devastating. He attempted to commit suicide by drinking the poison known as slow creeping death. That famous poison used for suicide, is it not? Says the old bearded man who appears to be a priest or something. I don't know. It seems his death is inevitable, someone says in the hall. With the first prince's death, doesn't that render the faction meaningless? This leads to this council to a discussion on who is supposed to rule the faction now. We must build our connections properly, says some noble. The old man thinks now that the troublesome Calyx is dead, it is certain that Grunbein, the woman, will take the count's seat. It looks like the hag and the old man are in this scheme together. Then who will be the next count? They decide suddenly, without a question. Is the Countess going to act as the count's proxy? This is getting interesting. Are you ready? Someone says. A blonde figure says, "Ready, Sir Russell?" Of course. "I'll follow you to the end," says Russell,